Number 11, Oklahoma. Number 4, Alabama. Alabama's a 6-point favorite. 6-point favorite. My bad. The over-under I have is 257 Oklahoma rushing yards. It's a lot. It's what the Sooners had in this matchup last year. Xavier Robinson, who hit the century mark in this game last year, has hit the century mark each of the last 2 Oklahoma games. He's overtaken Torrey Blaylock for that feature back role. Kind of weird how that played out. Happened even though he fumbled in the Tennessee game, I want to say, and it's just strange the way that Brent Venables has kind of handled this backfield all year. I think week to week, you're just kind of scratching your head going, I don't really know what to expect. Remember Jaden Ott? Remember when he was a thing? Anyway.
To go.
Wait, say it again.
Whenever they had game day out in Cal, they were doing OTT. It's ought to go. This is like a whole year ago,
yeah.
a year and a half ago at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, for the Miami game, that would have been. Yeah, that's right. John Mateer kind of starting to get his legs back. At least it looked like that in the second half against Tennessee, and then you get the bye week. So maybe we're going to see the best version of John Mateer, or at least the pre-injury version of John Mateer. We know that you can run the ball on Bama this year. Though worth noting, Bama the last 2 weeks has allowed an average of 85 rushing yards. South Carolina and LSU, though, maybe the 2 worst rushing offenses in the SEC that are not named Alabama. So make of that what you will. Oklahoma will probably, if I had to guess, complete more than 9 passes if it wins this game. Last year, completed 9 passes to win this football game. Service Academy. That's what they did.
Yeah, they adapted. They got to give up credit. When you got Jackson Arnold, or not Jackson Arnold, they had Jackson Arnold, but then they switched. Jackson Arnold was not advanced enough of a passer for them. They had to switch to Michael Hawkins and then kept having to run the ball.
Well, no, Jackson Arnold played in this game last year.
Dude, you're so right. Oh my gosh, this is when he had already come back. The Oklahoma quarterback situation was just so fascinating. And that's all they could do last year. It was fascinating, man. The fact that they played a service academy and got out-serviced academy was very funny. No, you're right. That was when they kind of had that like the resurgence. And so, yeah, that's kind of all they could do last year. It's what they've struggled with this year. But to your point, they've kind of gotten it back on track. But it's what you need to do against Alabama to be successful.
But also, it's kind of what you do against Alabama, and you still look up and realize that you're losing a game, because I'd fully expect Oklahoma to have a 100-yard advantage in the ground game. Would not be a surprise at all. That's just not going to faze Bama, though. It's, for Bama, having that ground game discrepancy, as weird as it is, it's kind of the Weeks puke before settling in. That's what it's turned into. It's like, oh, now we're good. Now we can start playing.
I wish he was good.
Yeah, seriously. Bama's held the rushing advantage in 1 of 7 power conference games. Nick Saban's rolling over in his grave. He's not dead, but you get what I'm saying. It was an 11-yard advantage against Vandy, who, by the way, ran the ball half as many times as Bama did. And Bama still only was plus 11 in rushing that game. Yeah, crazy. Oklahoma probably going to run it twice as much as Bama will in this one. The question is, will it matter? The other question, is this the best defense that Ty Simpson has faced this year? Georgia, Vandy, Mizzou, LSU. Good, not great defenses, I would say. Probably, yeah. Statistically speaking, I'd say Oklahoma has the edge over all 4 of those units. The interesting Ty Simpson stat. He leads FBS with 780 passing yards when leading by 1 to 7 points. Even late in that LSU game, and he's kind of throwing back across his body, middle of the field, to be able to pick up first downs to close that game out. You're like, why can't you run the ball? Yeah, that question's not going anywhere. Why can't Bama run the football? And they're still willing to throw with Ty Simpson. That's how much trust they have in him to be able to move the chains late in these games when they're trying to preserve leads. Simpson is Alabama's leader in missed tackles forced with 13. Yeah.
That's not funny. That's not really funny, considering the amount of, not just shifty, but big athletes they have. Our boy Hill that I texted you about during the Bama LSU game. Don't want to tackle that guy. I don't know if that makes Ty Simpson slippery or if that makes other people a little bit more stationary.
It's Ty Simpson, sneaky athletic, some would say. Sneaky athletic.
He's one of the few that is true about. He is actually truly sneaky athletic.
He's a dual threat coming out as a 5-star recruit out of the state of Tennessee. The problem is that Bama just has not found those answers. Whether Jam Miller fully healthy would be the answer, I don't know. He's got 9 missed tackles forced this year. we need on the broadcast, there are certain things that I feel like we as the American public need to start having a conversation about. We need to have a conversation about Daniel Hill's legs. Google him right now. That's a weird thing to Google. Maybe don't Google it. Maybe just watch this game on Saturday and
just Google Daniel Hill.
Daniel Hill has tree trunks. Because you look at him, if you just saw his upper body, you'd go, hey, what is he, like 205, 210? And then you see his legs and go, oh, yeah, that guy's an easy 240. Easy 240. I don't know what the squat numbers are yet on him, or if he is known for those like ridiculous record-setting numbers. He certainly has the body to do it. And the fact that he's only forced six missed tackles this year, a little bit alarming, but we'll see if that comes out more so in a game like this.
Connor, did you ever watch BattleBots growing up?
I did not. Not my realm.
It was like this show where these little like engineer kids. It was like a kid show where they would like build. It was a competition where they would build robots that fought each other, and there were some robots that had treads instead of wheels. And I feel like Hill has treads instead of wheels. Like his upper body is a human body, and his lower body is just tank treads. And so you try to tackle him by the legs, and he just kind of runs you over and keeps going.
But are they doing that often enough with him? Because it's almost like he's been better in those situations out of the passing game than as a traditional runner. And that's kind of weird. You know, I would expect that not to be the case at all with him, but would think he's going to get involved in this one. And at the same time, how much does Alabama care about running the football? Because it's an Oklahoma defense that's fourth in the country against the run. They've only allowed 4 rushing touchdowns all year. You trust the ball in Ty Simpson's hands as opposed to your ground game that's really struggled to get anything going. Bama's going to play to its strengths by throwing the ball, even if our Mason Thomas is a go in this one, in this OU defense. Probably has a good chance of speeding up Ty Simpson and maybe being able to get one of those strip sacks, kind of like what Harold Perkins Jr. had last week, where you just got to hit on one of those plays to be able to flip momentum. And maybe Oklahoma can do that, but I still trust Ty Simpson. I do. I think after LSU did a really nice job limiting him, Bama's going to come out firing early in this one, and it's a 2-touchdown lead kind of before Oklahoma settles in. And it's not going to finish like that. I don't think this turns into a rout. Oklahoma will not go away, but an improving Alabama defense, I think, makes a difference, and it flips the script a little bit on last year's performance so that doesn't repeat itself. I'm going Bama to win this one 27-14.
So it's an interesting question about the best defense, or Oklahoma being the best defense that Bama has played, because we kind of talked about this going into the Ole Miss game, and I won't say that they got like exposed or anything, but I think it just goes to show how different schemes are effective against different defenses. I think the LSU defense is very much built to stop an offense like Alabama, where, I mean, again, I hate it sometimes when the easy explanation is the correct explanation, but I do truly think that LSU just struggles with mobile quarterbacks. And I thought that, it's just kind of small sample size or whatever. But now that we've seen it, take out Lenora Sellers, right? Because that was all they had going for them. But the Pavia stuff, the Marcel Reed stuff in the second half, I think that when Alabama was kind of less willing to do that with Ty Simpson and they were less willing to get the run game going, that Blake Baker defense was able to pin their ears back. And LSU is a defense that creates havoc, right? Kind of like A&M in that way. Oklahoma hasn't as much had a defense that creates havoc. And that's what you need to do against Alabama to keep them off schedule. Now they did against Tennessee, right? And we talked about that in the Tennessee game where it was like, okay, which of these defenses is going to step up? And obviously it was Oklahoma. I say all of that to say, this is actually a pretty interesting one because Oklahoma, I feel as though they're a defense that kind of makes you make the right read. And they've succeeded against quarterbacks that were maybe a little bit less developed, or they kind of put you in a box and make you trick you. And Ty Simpson is a guy who's really hard to trick. In fact, I think that this is a situation where Alabama's offense will look, I think, night and day different from they did last week, just because of those things I just mentioned, and again, another night and day. I don't want to go too deep down this train, but talked about Harold Perkins. Look at how we looked against Marcel Reed. Look at how we looked against Ty Simpson. I just think that it's a scheme thing. And so that being said, I really do like Alabama's offense against the Oklahoma defense in this game. And I think on the other side, the Alabama defense, we talked about Kane Womack, they're a havoc creating defense, right? John Mateer is a guy who has been suspect to a little bit of havoc. So I'm with you there. I think that after kind of the buildup of the LSU game, Alabama maybe was overthinking themselves a little bit in that game. A game that probably shouldn't have been as close as it was for as long as it was. I think in a game like this, Alabama can get ahead and get the insurance field goal that we always talk about and kind of put the gas on and not hold up.
How would you define creating havoc?
As far as from which side? Because I talked about a ton of different havoc there.
What would you define as a defense creating havoc?
Getting an offense off schedule and creating turnovers.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, because I think you could look at that two ways with Oklahoma. They struggle with the turnovers, but they can get in the backfield. They absolutely can. And it's just a matter of kind of what ultimately are you doing with that? Are you just getting an offense behind schedule? Is that creating enough havoc for you to be able to overtake a game? Or can you get that big play like what they were able to do against Tennessee, which was creating havoc? That had to be their MO in a game like that, where you knew there are probably going to be some spots where their receivers and their ability to stretch the field, they can burn you. But if you create enough of that havoc, then you're going to be in a spot where you can look up and go, wow, it's set up pretty well, even though it feels like Tennessee's been able to do some things and move the football a little bit. And it's not to say it's bend, don't break, but I do wonder, will Bama try and target Cortland Guillory, who's been, I think, a lot of time really, really good as a true freshman corner in this league. And I always try and give so much respect, because I think it's an impossible task to be a true freshman corner starting on the outside. But I do think that ultimately Alabama is going to find a way to figure some things out. Now, what if Brent Venables goes on the road and wins this game? What if that happens? Because all of a sudden, if that does, the possibility of the SEC chaos scenario is on the table. Have we outlined what the SEC chaos scenario is, Will?
I think there could be a couple, but is that like basically all of the teams getting in the playoff?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's 7 of them. It's 7 of them that in theory could find their way to 10-2 or 11-1. And I don't think that ultimately happens. This is definitely like the last time that we're going to be able to throw this out there. But there is still that possibility. It would take Texas beating the likes of Georgia in Athens and also Texas A&M to close the regular season. It would take Oklahoma going on the road and winning in Tuscaloosa and being the first SEC team to win there since 2019. It would take Vandy winning at Tennessee. Like, it would take a lot of these things to happen, obviously. And it's a parlay that I don't know what the odds are if you bet it game by game. It's probably like, I don't even want to throw out a number. It's like 50-1, 100-1 or something like that. But it's at least possible. It's at least possible. If that happens in a game like this, people will be on, oh man, what did that just do? But I don't think ultimately Oklahoma is able to win consecutive games against ranked teams in true road games.
Yeah, and really, really quick, I think, like I said, this is going to be one of those, like, I don't want to sleep on Oklahoma at all, especially what they've done, again, against Tennessee. I think that this is kind of another inflection point for Venables' career. I think that in winning this game, you can kind of bounce yourself right back up into the bottom of the top tier of the SEC. I think that you could just take, a couple, like a year or two off and be like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about that. We're back. We're ready to recruit to this. This is our identity. I don't think they're quite there yet, but I definitely don't want to disrespect them because, we kind of did that I did that a little bit against Tennessee and said, oh, I love this Tennessee offense. And they were able to totally limit that offense. I just think the Bama offense is I hate to call the Tennessee offense dumb, but I think Bama has the smartest. Well, when you talk about Aguilar and some of the turnovers he had, Ty Simpson doing that would blow my mind. I mean, that would just be so completely different. And that's the point that I make about the havoc. Like, don't want to undersell the sacks that Oklahoma has created, and from that standpoint. But the thing about Ty Simpson is on third down and in big moments, him and Aguilar could not be more different players. So that's all I'm saying here is that if you put the ball in Ty Simpson's hands and say, beat us, that's a pretty bad recipe. Even in the game last week where he didn't play exactly to his standard, he still didn't lose them the game. And so I think these are two very good teams. I don't think this is exposing Oklahoma or anything like that. I think it's going to be a close game, defensive game. One thing that's pretty interesting is Alabama in conference play actually leads the conference in time of possession, which is pretty cool.
For a team that can't run the football.
Yeah, like that's the thing.
That's weird, man.
Yeah, so it's like, how do we run the football? It can be in a couple of ways. Joe Sloan might say that and be wrong, but, Ryan Grubb can say that and be correct because at the end of the day, the two top teams in that stat are A&M, Alabama, right? So, yeah, that being said, I think it's pretty interesting.
If Oklahoma wins this game, though, just need to open up that possibility because it's only 6-point underdogs. If they win this game, you look at that remaining schedule and the quarterbacks that they would face, and you're all of a sudden going, wow, Oklahoma, they're more likely than not to make the college football playoff. Again, that takes winning in Tuscaloosa.